400,000 people were living in apartments with lead paint, broken heat, and black mold, while the agency responsible for their safety was signing official documents saying everything was fine. That lie cost Americans $6 billion, and almost nobody went to jail. The New York City Housing Authority, NYCHEA, manages the largest public housing system in the United States, 177,000 apartments across hundreds of developments. The federal government sends billions of dollars to keep those apartments safe and livable. But for years, NYCHEA leadership wasn't spending that money where it was supposed to go. Repairs piled up, the backlog grew, and instead of telling the truth, officials kept certifying compliance. That word, certifying, is where the real crime hides. Every year, housing authorities have to sign federal documents confirming their buildings meet safety standards. Sign the form, get the funding. NYCHA signed those forms. The apartments didn't meet the standards. That's not mismanagement, that's fraud. In 2018, federal investigators caught them. The U.S. Department of Justice announced that NYCHA had falsely certified compliance with lead paint inspection rules for years. Not once, not twice, repeatedly, systematically across hundreds of buildings with children living inside. The settlement was $1.2 billion, the largest of its kind in public housing history. And that number only scratches the surface. The total repair backlog that NYCHA had been hiding? Investigators put it at more than $6 billion. That's the money needed to fix what they let rot while telling regulators everything was fine. HUD Secretary Ben Carson said NYCHA had, quote, failed the people it was meant to serve. But that's putting it politely. This wasn't a bureaucratic slip. Officials looked at children breathing lead dust and signed a form that said the building was safe. Now here's where the story gets darker. NYCHA isn't alone. This pattern repeats across the country. In Baltimore, the city housing authority fell into such dysfunction that federal oversight essentially had to take over portions of its portfolio. Residents reported years of mold, leaks, and broken heating while repair money vanished into bureaucracy and bad contracts. The pattern is always the same. Vendors overbill, inspectors look the other way, procurement gets rigged. No single contract is enormous, but run it across dozens of buildings over 10 years and you're looking at hundreds of millions gone. Investigators call it death by 1,000 cuts. Then COVID hit and the fraud accelerated. Emergency rental assistance programs pushed billions of dollars out the door as fast as possible. Speed was the priority, oversight wasn't. Fraudsters saw the opening immediately, forged leases, fake tenants, duplicate applications, shell nonprofits. Some schemes used the same address over and over with different fabricated identities, collecting checks on households that didn't exist. Treasury Department watchdogs warned that controls were too weak and that money was already gone before anyone looked twice. And it wasn't just government programs. On the private side, mortgage fraud, appraisal fraud, and broker collusion have manipulated home values and trapped borrowers in loans built on lies. When those bad loans get packaged and sold, the damage spreads from one house to an entire bank and eventually to taxpayers who have to clean up the mess. So why does this keep happening? Because housing is one of the biggest spending categories in America. Large money flows, local administrators, private contractors, weak controls. That combination is a fraud magnet. The Government Accountability Office has flagged billions in improper payments across HUD programs in recent years alone. Improper payments aren't always criminal, but they're where investigators start. Because when the paperwork looks clean and the money is gone, somebody made it look that way on purpose. The children in those NYCHA apartments with lead paint didn't choose to live there. Their families had nowhere else to go. The system was supposed to protect them. Instead, the people running that system signed their names on documents saying the danger didn't exist and kept cashing federal checks. That's not a bureaucratic failure, that's a decision. $6 billion in deferred repairs, $1.2 billion in settlements, billions more in pandemic fraud, and the same false forms, the same falsified inspections, the same rigged contracts, just with different names in different cities. The scam doesn't need a single mastermind. It just needs enough people deciding that the paperwork matters more than the people. Follow this channel. Because the biggest financial crimes in America don't happen in back alleys. They happen on official letterhead, and they're targeting people who can't afford to fight back.